Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another exciting screencast with Mr. Cheney. This is a real quick overview on CoSpaces EDU, which is web-based software for AR and VR, of course, augmented reality and virtual reality. We're going to be playing around with just some 3D environments or 3D spaces, and the goal is that we're going to create a real quick 3D space and then export that for a virtual reality platform. So I want you to log into CoSpaces, and then on the left-hand side of the toolbar, you'll see these options. Click My Space, and then click Create Space. I've already created a space that I'm going to open, which is called Space 1. If you click on the three dots, which is your options in most different platforms, you can change the name of that space. So I'm going to call it SAP Networks Assignment 2, which is a great name. You can duplicate your space, you can use this as an assignment or archive the space. All I need you guys now to do is maybe name the space and then open it up. And you open it up just by clicking on it. The space will start off completely blank, and then you need to start bringing in those elements and creating or modeling in a 3D environment. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create an environment for us to work in. So I might want to import this beautiful mountain landscape. You can see just by using the left click button on your mouse, you can actually change the view. So you can see there is a camera there. So when you export or if you hit the play button, it actually launches that 3D environment, which could be used for a little animation or a game based on where that camera is located. So if I just go back, so you can see that's where my camera is located. Now there's a few different tools up here. So obviously you've got the home button that'll take you out of the space and back to the CoSpaces environment. Undo or redo buttons there. Snapping, which is basically how you would snap objects right next to each other and the measurement and the distance between those two objects. I might show you that in more detail later on. Up here you've got a beautiful help button. So if I can't provide you with any assistance, please use the help button. You've got a share button here, which will allow you to share this space to either a web browser or to another platform, which could be a gaming console or it could be a virtual reality headset. And then your code button. So when you add objects, you can actually code those objects, similar to Scratch and other basic coding platforms. But you could basically code an animal to fly or something like that, which I'll show you a little bit later on. I want to insert an object from my library. So if I go to my library, I've got all these different characters. I'm going to put in regular boy. Why not? So regular boy, you can drag and drop into that space. And then you've got these four different options. If you hover the mouse over that different icon, it's going to tell you what that means. So this one is rotating. This one here is translation mode. So that's about moving them. So remember as well, you're going to want that character or anything you put into the scene in front of the camera. And that way, if I go play, we can see that I've got regular boy right there. And he's not doing anything at the moment, but that's fine. We'll make sure he's busy pretty soon. You've got drag to lift, and then you've got drag to scale. So if you wanted to increase the size of your the assets that you import into this space, you can do that using those tools. Now, the first thing, if you double click on the character, you get these options. So you could add an animation. I'm going to add an action, and he is going to be dancing. If I click here, you can see that he's dancing. And then if I go to play, we can see that regular boy's dancing. So you can create a whole different range of movements and actions. You can create interactions, and you can create a scene where two characters might be interacting and providing instructions. But for the purpose of this, we're just going to really just rush through a couple of different things to show you how you might start building a 3D environment with a bit more detail. Obviously, you've got a whole range of different options here. One of the tasks might be to redesign an element of the school or a building. So to do that, you can start bringing in these assets here. So I'm going to use the brick wall because why not make this beautiful school out of brick? And you can see just by using those different tools, you can drag or alter the size of that brick wall. And then if I want to push that back, sorry, I've got to use the correct tool. I want to push that back so it's behind our dancing guy. you can obviously move where your objects are just using those different elements there. Again, I can see that he's now going to dance in front of that brick wall, so it's not that complicated. I haven't changed much, but I have started to build that environment. Now, if you right-click here, so you can bring up this menu, or you can double-click it. Now, I might want to call this, rather than brick wall, eastern wall. If I can spell, that will help. You've got the option here to change material, so you're going to be changing the texture. So you can see I've changed it here from brick to stone, and I'm going to change the opacity. So the opacity means how solid that object is, or how transparent that object is. So opacity, you can now see that I've changed that 76%, so you can see through this wall. You do have the options to lock that object, so that means you can't change materials, size, or positioning. Or if you want, because you're going to be building essentially a room which will need more than one wall, you can then duplicate that wall and then start playing around with it. So you can see I've used the wrong tool there because I just wanted to move the wall, so I used the drag to scale rather than translation mode. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the undo button, which is going to bring that wall back to the original dimensions. I'm going to click translation, and then I'm going to move that wall back. And then if I change the view, so I'm using the scroll on the mouse, the wheel on the mouse, you can see that I can now see what I'm starting to create. So that's how I've put in two walls. I might just really quickly add some flooring or a glass wall. You've got a whole range of different options here for you to enter. For my flooring though, I'm just going to get a square and I'm going to enter that into the space. And you can see that that square isn't taking up the whole space, but you can then manipulate that square to make sure it's the right dimensions. There's some real basics on how you can actually start creating a 3D environment. You've got a whole range of different things that to import. You can change the setting of the day. You could also import an image that you've taken, a 3D image, as well if you want to bring in some housing, so some pre-made furniture. So it could be a bookshelf, a sofa, or it could be an entire city. Of course, you can start bringing that in. And then if I go play, you can see that I've created this beautiful environment made of some original assets, but also some pre-made assets. That's all for today's tutorial. The next tutorial will show you a little bit on coding, but you can see this scene is definitely worth an A+ with a pre-made building, 2 opaque walls, a yellow square on the floor, and a dancing regular boy.